Like Mike's choice of music you had playing there?
We don't choose it. He chooses it.
Love mine. Love it. All right.
All right. So it is being recorded, guys. When the recording starts on here, every little bit of chatter gets picked up and it goes onto the recording. So you know, right, Amanda, because you hear it. So keep your chatter to a very, very low volume, or maybe just passing notes. That would even be better. So just so you know, everything you say, the voices in the sky can hear, and it's getting recorded and broadcasting out to the universe.
So be careful what you say, I guess.
Yes.
Short version of that. All right. So stand up. Let's say hi to two people that you don't know through online and direct message someone in the chat.
Here we go.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Try that again. Good morning. Good morning. Love that. All right. So one of my favorite things about Keller Williams, I tell everybody when I'm talking to them, is our values. Yeah, and specifically our values being God, family, and then business. And it is so unique because not every company has that or embraced it. So very blessed that we got that. So to go into our Steffes Award. So last week, I'm not gonna move the slide yet because it actually says who it is. So last week's Steffes Award was Mr. Jim Bolin. And this week,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yes, it's Hey, look, I prepared a long speech and all that.
We're ready. We're ready. We're ready to
I
hear
got
it.
bumps. That's all right. I mean, basically, what I was going to say in a shortened version is that I really do think they show everything that Keller Williams is, because their enthusiasm, they don't miss training pretty much if it's here. But God Family Business is real high on their list, and they have a very unique approach to business, you know, because they're two totally different souls working together in this business. So it's my pleasure.
If you guys have not had the pleasure of being around Amy and Maria, I highly suggest going and taking a peek in their office and going and chatting with them. They are fantastic humans.
And the only negative to this award sometimes is because we interact with people on a fairly regular basis, you know, and I see them in the office. So I'm going to talk to the staff about perhaps we have a second Steffes type award that is in our local offices, and that it's on a monthly basis, local being Lebanon, Hartville, whatever, because we don't interact as much with them except by phone, FaceTime, whatever it is. But I think that I think they encompass some of the same things. So I think we should think about that. The second one would be a monthly award, so they wouldn't have to travel as much, but we could share it in those outer offices too. What we're now calling the local offices. Good idea?
Yeah.
All right, let's vote.
Jim wins.
I love it. And couldn't pick two better people. They're always involved. They're always willing to help people. Amy was on a panel for a group of realtors from all brokerages, And so congratulations, guys.
Do I see Christine out there real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hi.
Come on up, Christine.
I'm good. Christine with Onward. We are your Market Center Transaction Coordinator group. And I just am super excited today. I get to announce that we have a new transaction coordinator with Onward. She is a rock star. This is Megan Lowe. She's been with KW for years, so she comes to us with tons of knowledge and experience and some really great ideas. So we're really happy to have her on our team. And we just want to invite you up to the leadership team to come visit us. And let us talk to you about how we can help your business. So I think that's all I just want to introduce our new rock star, Megan.
Hey, Megan.
Congratulations, welcome back. All right, broker moment. Oh. Lots of talking to do, Jim.
Yeah,
There you
the
go.
contract class today. So if anybody does want to attend, you can. Certainly it's 1 o'clock. It'd be nice if we had 5 people. If we don't have 5, that's fine. If we have 1, we'll still do it. But we probably may not do it down here. We may go upstairs. The second thing is, anybody had a mutual release lately? Man, I've been signing these things like, it's like a deck of cards. They're coming in 2 and 3 times a day. Here's what I can tell you. I had my first one in 7 years about 2 weeks ago. And I did everything I could to hold it together. I mean, I really worked at it. I struggled with it. I even offered some commission back to buy a water heater to try to keep it together because the guy was going to New Jersey and, he wanted to get back with his family. Didn't work out. I think a lot of times these mutual releases, they start right after you go under contract, don't they? You can see it coming. And so I think counseling of your buyers and sellers right up front is the way to deal with that. When I talk to sellers about inspections, I say, well, you're going to have an inspection and it's going to look like your house is falling apart and they're going to deliver an inspection notice. But let me ask you a real simple question. You go, okay, go ahead. You want to sell your house? They go, well, yeah. I say, well, fix it. Fix the things that they ask for. If it's ridiculous, no, but don't argue over caulk on a bathtub or something like that. I've had too many agents just recently tell me, yeah, we went in the last day and we started, making all these repairs to try to get it done. That's too late. The buyer's over the fence. And if you've ever dealt with cattle, if the bull goes over the fence, you ain't getting him back. He's gone. So it's the same thing with buyers on this. So I think counseling is a deal up front. Counsel your buyer, counsel your seller. The buyer has never seen an inspection report, most likely. And when they see it, I mean, heck, they scare me, 60, 90 pages of just junk and thermal pictures of the water lines and things like that. I'm like, holy cow. But if you counsel them ahead of time and say, listen, it's going to be very detailed. This is what they do. It's called CYA for the inspector because he's trying to protect himself along with the seller. And just tell them that, we'll go through this line by line. And really, you should look at the big ticket items: heat and air, roof, water penetration, crawl space and attic stuff. But, a lot of the other stuff are things like the doors rubbing, for God's sake. I mean, why did inspectors ever think that was an issue unless you've got a crack this big above the door? It's not a big issue. A lot of times I go in and fix them by grabbing hold of the door and putting my 150 pounds of solid muscle on them. So anyhow, counseling, I think, is a key to that. I'd like to sign a lot less of those. I mean, I spend 2 to 3 a day. And if you think about that, so we're doing 5,000, not this year, but typically we do 5,000 transactions a year as a company. Okay, so if I do 2 or 3 a day, that's 150 right here. Guess what the blue company's doing? 3 a day. So that's 150 a month is what I'm saying. It gets to be a lot. And that's a lot over the course of a year of transactions that are going south. And you think of all the people that are involved in the transaction that suffer because of that. So, and we're not adding, a lot of times these houses don't go back on the market, do they? They just stop. So let's try to do a better job up front on those and save me from having to sign them and you the grief of losing the commission. And eventually, if you lose it, if it doesn't close, who do they typically blame? Yeah, Roper. Oh, it's you. That's it for me.
Jim, I think I was told you had a story or something.
Oh,
Oh, look at
hell, I should just leave the meeting.
Come on up.
It would have been a lot easier, wouldn't it?
We gave you a break to introduce
That's
Megan.
all right. You know, Bold is coming up and, you know, I get a feeling sometimes that you feel like we're trying to sell this to you. You know, that here's a deal, you know, here's a great training. You got to do this. It's only $7.99. $7.99. Put down your credit card and let's go. I don't think you understand it. I really don't. When I first got in the business, I joined Remax down in Branson because they were the top company. I mean, it was clear. And they had zero training. And I'm a teacher for 10 years before I get into there. And I know that if you're going to be successful, you have to have education, correct? $10,000 is what my wife and I spent over an 18-month period getting enough education to be successful in the business. I mean, we traveled everywhere, Kansas City, Memphis, Chicago. We were going to any class we could find that we thought would add value. Came back, I mean, we did pretty good over the course of the years. We were number 1 or 2 in our market down there. And then came up here and still succeeded, not knowing anybody because we had that background. Here's what Bold does. How many classes? 8, counting the startup deal? 8 classes for $800. Now, the average, they say, is 12 transactions. Okay, let's say you suck, all right? And you get 2 transactions, right? You only get 2 out of it. Okay, the first one pays the class, doesn't it? Because the average sale price is $200,000 approximately, plus, minus, doesn't matter. That's $6,000 in commission. I don't care if you split 50-50, you still paid for the class, right? The second transaction, you've got a big profit there. Just from attending a class that only meets 1 time a week over basically an 8 or 9 week period. There may be a gap in there because of a holiday. And you get lunch. So let's subtract that out of there. I mean, that's, for some of you, that's $20, right? For me, it's a bag of chips, but for you guys, it's a little higher. The other thing I want you to think of is going to, and coffee, and you're going to have 150 probably.
Yes.
You're going to have 150 people in that class, and they're not all just the same people that are in this room. They're going to be all over the area. And you know how that is. I mean, if I call Amanda in Lebanon, I'm good with that because I know her, she knows me, we're good because we've interacted. But anytime you interact with somebody that you've met and you've dealt with over time, and you'll be in close proximity with a lot of these people, it makes your job a lot easier and you're going to be successful. And guess what? You might get a referral someday, or you might give a referral and be very confident about that I'm referring this person to somebody I know is going to do the job.
I will say, I just sent a referral over to the person I was in Bold with last time in Joplin. Because I've got a client who's been running over all of Southwest Missouri, and I'm like, I'm not going all the way out to Kansas and Joplin and everything else to show him this house. He loves it. It's a $500,000 house. I'm getting a 25% referral fee on that from Bold.
I love that too. I love referrals when they finally come in, you know, it's kind of a surprise, like Christmas.
Yeah, right.
But I want you to think, I mean, I really want you to consider this if you haven't signed up. And if you have signed up, you ought to get somebody else to sign up. I mean, I really have thought about calling some agents I know that I deal with in other companies that really need this class, you know, because it not only talks about sales skills, it also talks about, let's build your life. You know, let's be bold. Let's build a life by design instead of just wandering around every day, hoping somebody calls me, or, you know, I run into somebody in the grocery store, or I attend 3 different churches, you know, I have to go to 3 services trying to get a referral, you know? So I really hope that we have an excessive amount of 150. I think everybody should be involved in it. I know it sounds like a huge amount of money, but, you know, call me. I would be more than happy to loan somebody enough money to go to this. Now, I expect to be paid back. But if you just say, you know, I just can't afford it, give me a call. I'll cut you a check. You pay me back. What's the interest on this? Any questions about Bold? I'm guaranteeing you that if you do 2 transactions, not 12, but 2, it's a profit. And the beauty of it, just think about one day, it's 9 to 3. It's only 6 hours. You still have time. You've got all this time to work. There's gaps in the sessions. You can return emails or text while I'm talking, and it doesn't even matter.
And with this, when this session of Bold is in August, September, maybe October, however long it goes, it also sets you up to have a profitable December and January.
You know, the beauty of it for me was back when I took it, and I don't have to, you know, shoot, business just falls in my lap. Even back when I took it because I thought it would be good for the broker to take it, you know. I paid the money and went in there and took the class. And then I had to make all these damn phone calls, you know, and all that and contact people. And you know what happened? I generated business. It was just stupid thing, you know. Then I had to work. I mean, it's just, I think it's a good thing though. And I wouldn't say that. I would never push you because we have had, and they won't say it, but I will. We've had bad Bold instructors. Woo! I mean, just really average. And if you're a teacher, you can recognize them the day you walk in the classroom. This one's legitimate. She's something. I might pay again.
We do have payment plans up here for you guys.
Payment plans right here. Here in a minute, we'll have the QR code if you wanted to register. And I will say, like, our leadership, Dan, Rachel, like, they really set out to fight to get us the best instructor in all of Bold. Like, and the timing, like was mentioned by Elise, is on purpose. It's not by coincidence that it's now. Because going into the fourth quarter, the first quarter of next year, our leadership here, Dan, Rachel, they really wanted to set everybody here up for a great winter and first start to next year. So
They literally chased her down at family reunion. I saw it. They were crowding her. They're like, hey. And I'm like, go get her. Yeah, it happened. I saw it. It's true.
One last thing, the market will change. It's going to shift again, and when it shifts the next time, after the federal government gets the heck out of the way, then things are gonna rocket, and you wanna be in that position with market share. That's where you wanna be. You wanna be ahead of the gang. You don't wanna be chasing them around. Everybody right now, remember, we started teaching shift 18 months ago, and the board started teaching it last month. You know, you wanna be ahead of it, so.
it's really interesting to think from this perspective. So Dan Holt, Adam Grady, we all look at them as having these big businesses now, right? Like, I remember going through the last shifting market when the market shifted really big. That's when they actually built their team. That's when they built what they have now. It wasn't in those good years that they built it. It was actually in those shifting years. So this is everybody's opportunity to build that big business just like they did now in a shifting market. So that's why Dan feels so passionately about it. So, all right. What's this?
TCPA, don't call people who don't want to be called. Otherwise, you're going to bring shame upon us and then Jim's going to yell at you. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Be compliant, friends.
This is really becoming a big deal, like a really big deal. So if you have more questions, here's a QR code, take a picture of it. So if you have more questions, you can go look at it. Vendors, do we have any vendors in the room? Stand up.
Hello, everyone. Jess Bowman, Bowman Insurance Group. We're here to help you guys with any insurance needs. We can do personal, business, anything you need. So just call us if we can help with anything insurance related. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Cindy Sluckle and Christy Norris.
With Great American Title, and to let you know, reminder, we've got a title class here after the meeting. And it's really how to use the title report to create some conversations with your clients instead of just throwing it away when they've got a rockin' TC team who's reviewing that for you. Wouldn't you like to know a little bit more about having some conversational knowledge of title? That's what we're offering today. And what did we get? Pastries? We got what from
A couple Kringles.
Kringles? Yeah, from Supreme. So we hope that you
They know how to fill seats, guys.
hope you stick around for
Lots of food.
some good food and some good information. I think that's at 11 o'clock.
Any other vendors in the room? Nope. Okay. Just as a reminder, every week on Sunday, the GSBR sends out an email. Make sure to check your email. And the board is having a class on AI and real estate. So on July 25th at 3:30. That's today.
That's today.
Really?
So at 3:30 today,
Yeah.
after you've been at team meeting and learned everything about title commitment, then you may go and learn about AI.
It's an interesting conversation, you know, with AI. Who here follows AI? Yeah. So it's an interesting conversation where everything's going, so. It's also a YPN mixer. The main reason why I was advertising this is guess who's in the dunk tank?
You.
Mr. Mike Brown. So we just want to make sure you go and just dunk Mike. So.
A lot.
So August 1st, 4 to 6, they've got food, drinks, it's at the Wire Road Brewing Company, so. The welcome committee, are you aware of this one?
No.
I can.
What you got,
Please,
Maria?
yeah.
So the inclusion committee, we're having Elise Riley come talk to us. She's doing the KW Rainbow Network presentation that she did here. She's just not gonna have it branded. And then we're gonna have some resources from town also talk about where you can guide your clients in the community to help them with housing and just anything that they might need. So this is gonna be awesome. We're gonna have mimosas, so.
And so that's August 7th, and you have to use the GSBOR member portal to register.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Thank you.
And that's at
GSBOR.
Yes. And we got a golf tournament,
Yep,
because 'tis the season for golf tournaments. YPN Charity Golf Tournament, August 21st, that's my birthday, so if you'd rather do that than celebrate me, that's fine. 7 a.m. check-in, so this gets sent out, right, these links?
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. This is, it should be in your Sunday email as well.
Mhm.
This is an interesting stat. Yeah, and so the housing supply dropped in 2022 to be the same level as it was in 1999. Did you ever read the business back then?
Yes. Yes, I was, everybody. 1996, actually, 94 licensed, 96 working.
Couple of trainings, want to make sure to mention, obviously the title at 11. Jim has a contract class at 1. Tomorrow, doesn't Dawn have a class?
Yep, Don teaches seller contracts and Nicole has intro to command. Nicole's been doing some amazing things, educating you all on how to use your tech to your advantage. Take advantage of every single training she has to offer. It's really, really good stuff. It's designed to get you in more places and talk to more people. And then we've got the admin mastermind and top 20% on Thursday. And this is another really great training that Nicole's doing Thursday at 11. She's doing Google Suite Back to Basics. Nicole, are you on and can tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have noticed that maybe sometimes people come in and they don't understand how to use their whole Google platform, which makes sense. There's so many different email platforms and maybe we're not utilizing it to its highest ability that you can. So I'm pretty much going to talk about a couple of the main things that I use Google for, because you do have a Google Suite with your KW email. It's a Gmail platform, but there's so many other things that you can use it for. So I'm going to be talking about some of those and then bring your questions. So if you have anything that you were interested in with the Google Suite, then I can go ahead and answer those as well. But pretty much starting with the basics and kind of wanting to build on that as we go through the rest of the year.
The Google Suite, who in here uses their Google Suite a lot? A couple of people. I use it all the time. As a matter of fact, the slides from this are actually on Google Slides. So like we use it all the time. So if you don't even know what it is, if you're sitting there thinking, I have no idea what they're even talking about, go to this, highly recommend it. It's great. Start using it, make your life a lot easier.
Oh, this is me. Okay. Raise your hand if you know we're doing a listing competition. All right. Awesome. Thank you. Where's Rachel? She needs to hear that people knew. We are doing a listing competition, guys. I talk about it every week. It is just listed in July. It just has to go live this month to count. We've got different divisions from agents licensed in 2023 to an individual agent, teams of 2, small groups and large groups, so that we're all in different groups and you all have an opportunity. Raise your hand if you made a listing live this month. Awesome. I see a couple back there. Yeah, group coaching. Boop, boop, boop. We're going to take over in case you were curious. There's really big prizes. You have to be present to win. Every week we've been announcing weekly winners. we are going to announce the big winners on August 8th at team meeting. And there will be a really fun trivia game that they're going to compete to see what prizes they actually get to win. There's going to be a mega camp ticket. There's going to be a regional event, some MAPS coaching, some agent billing credit. And the big one is there's going to be a Bold scholarship. Okay. A free Bold is being given away. It's pretty amazing. So be here. If you've got a listing, go make it live, guys. You've got a week left.
So so every week you have winners and they get prizes?
Yep, they get little door prizes. You know, I'm quite the gambler, so you get like scratcher tickets, maybe books or signs, things like that. But if you were a winner and you were notified on Facebook or whatever, come see me. I have your prizes.
Okay, speaking of,
All right, new individual, Corey Jett, you're in the room. Brand new license, Corey, how long? Since November, and you've been with KW since
This office since May.
May, and took her first listing. Pretty awesome, pretty awesome. Jason Massingale took 3. Rob Luck got 1. Small group Cronkite, there you are. Good job. I mean, you'll build more houses and list them. That's all you gotta do. It's pretty easy for you. And then large group, again, we've tied Grady and Holt Homes Group each for 5. So it's fun. Listings control the market. Go after the listings. Listings leads leverage, right, guys?
overall standings for the month, right?
Is that on here?
That's what it is right there.
Oh, I'm like, did you move it? I didn't see anything. I'm just staring at it. All right, so here's where we are. Jenny Pace and Corey Jett are both tied for our newly licensed agent. Side note, they're both in coaching. It's pretty cool. Jason, he just wanted me to announce him again because he's super, super excited. As far as teams, we got Justin Henderson and Sam Ulrich and Flint Rock Real Estate. They're both tied for 4. Cronkite, you're doing great. Keep building, okay? And then large group so far, Grady has taken it. If you don't see your name up here, let's get there. If you need help, come see me. I'm all about it. 1 week left. Let's change up some of these names.
You know, I'm really proud of Corey Jett because, man, she gets so involved in training. She's involved in your coaching group. She went to Ignite. Like, she's just all into this. So I love her seeing your name up there.
Can I just say, I was at a different Keller Williams brokerage first, and they did not have anything in comparison to this one. Like, the training here is by far best. And I would say in the nation. I think we are definitely up there. And the team upstairs to our brokers, this place is incredible to me. I don't see any backbiting like I did at the other brokerage. I see everybody being everybody's teammate, and that is the coolest thing to be a part of. So thank you.
I also love seeing Justin and Sam up here. So,
Yeah, just came over and already killing it.
yeah. So,
All right,
so we were talking about Bold earlier. Shane, have you been through Bold?
I've been to Bold 2 times.
Okay. What was your experience like?
To be honest, if I can be open, honest, and transparent, I didn't want to go the first time. I was an ISA on a team and didn't think that that was a place for me to go and grow my business as I was working in somebody else's business. It completely changed the way I operate, how I do business, how I treat my family. It messed with my mindset in all the best ways possible. And what was so cool is I went back to my Bold notebook where I wrote notes and put dreams, aspirations, and goals, which at the time I thought were absolutely ridiculous and stupid things. And I hit every single one of them within 12 months. That's pretty cool. And then my second time at Bold, I was in leadership. And it was a great experience because then I got to see people in group coaching go through it and just as a different way. And I put some goals down and guess what? I hit some of those too. So it is super, super powerful. And if you're a non-believer in it, I highly recommend at least sign up for First Steps. There's no obligation if you don't want to. And I think it will change your entire course.
I had a similar experience. The first time I went through it, set goals for what I wanted to accomplish over the next year. To be honest with you, it's not like I looked at it every day and I should have. I didn't. And yet, like a year later, when I looked at that, I think I had out of the 12 items I put on there, I think I had done 10 of them. And I was like, man, how amazing is that going through this class, I set some goals and then went and accomplished them. So pretty
Like,
cool.
how often do you sit down on New Year's Eve and you set goals that you never attain? Raise your hand. I do it. I do it all the time, every year, right? I'm a sucker for it. This was totally different. These are goals that you think really deep about, you have a why connected to them, and there's a lot of stake for you to envision that future for yourself, hit that goal, and then be on the other side of it. And this is a great time to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
So we do have some bold scholarships. You want to apply for that? See Shanna, see Rachel,
Nicole,
Nicole,
And one from Jim.
and one from Jim.
one from Jim.
Scholarship now, not alone.
Well, it's kind of a loan. It's like the federal government scholarships.
Here are your QR codes. You want to register. So the one on the right is for the full bold, and the one on the left is for first steps. First steps, like I said, there's no commitment to it other than just the first one. Doesn't cost anything to go to the first one. So if you haven't registered, this will sell out.
Yeah, there's only 150 seats and we're open to other market centers. So right now, this is the time. If you're on the fence, this is the time. Talk to me, talk to Jason, talk to anybody in this room. Raise your hand if you've been to Bold. Okay, oh, very cool. Talk to those people, okay? What's new at your market center?
Book club. Is anyone in here from the book club? Nope. So right now they're reading Atomic Habits, which is probably in the top 3 or 4 of my favorite books ever. So if you haven't been involved in this, they're already at 138 people for first steps. Wow.
That's awesome.
That's off 150. So
That means they're almost sold out. So if you are interested, guys, I can't stress this enough. I'm not a pusher. I'm not a closer. I'm not that person.
we've got payment plans, we've got
Payment plans,
scholarship.
scholarship opportunities, all kinds of stuff.
So they're doing a book club on Atomic Habits. If you have any interest, see Shanna, see Rachel,
Maybe
Mike.
Paulina, is Paulina leading that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Save the date, Summers of Success. Today, we've got CMAs for Success, which we've got, let's see, we got Amy, Austin, Sheila, and Cassie coming up to teach us on that.
Here in just a few minutes, yep. Mega Camp. So Mega Camp's coming up on August 14th.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited about Mega Agent Camp this year. You know, every year, Jay, Jason, and myself, we sit down months in advance and we ask the question, how can we help? What can we do? What value can we bring to you that would make a difference right now in your lives? So, as you know, it's the 3 L's. It's leads, listings, and leverage. And then we add in wealth building. And we just go for it. To me, that's what Mega Agent Camp is. Thinking big, aiming high, and tackling the issues in a manner that would really help you right now. Tickets are limited this year. I apologize for that. So if you're coming, grab that ticket and come on. I can't wait to see you.
They've got a really cool lineup this year at Mega Camp. They have Tim Tebow's there. They've got a CEO summit beforehand that has some amazing speakers. So this is going to be great. Top 5 reasons to attend: 100% agent focused content, strategies for thriving in any market, network with top producing agents. And you basically like get to tap into a world of potential referrals. And Gary and other people from the industry. It really is amazing. I get referrals every year from people I meet at these events. Every year I get a referral from someone I meet at these events. Has anyone else ever gotten a referral
I've gotten 5 this year.
this year?
From family?
This year, from people I met at family reunion.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. Did it pay for your trip?
Oh, yeah. And my bold and my coaching and.
That's
And it was fun,
I mean,
right? To
but-
the family.
I will say this, this last year, I was purposeful and intentional about trying to have good conversations to make good referral partners. So it's not about just passing out your business card. It's really about trying to connect with people and then following up with them after the event.
You know, one of the things I've done when I went to some of these events in the past is I would write down like, what are the top like 5 things I want to learn while I'm here? And then I would say, who are the people that I want to meet? Like, what do they look like? What's their business look like? And then I would go and interview agents while I was there, and I would have a notebook, and every page of the notebook had the questions already written down. And then when I met someone and they would say that what their production level was or what their team looked like, I would just say, do you have just maybe 5 minutes for me to ask you a couple of questions? And I pull the notebook out. It was amazing. I got all kinds of cool stuff from it, so. I think there are like 7,000 tickets available at Mega Camp, and I think there are 2,000 left, so I think it's roughly where they're at. Tim Tebow is one of the speakers. He's on the mastery event, so. Nicole.
I am Sky.
I'm back. If you want to go to the next slide. It's me again, fictitious names and marketing compliance. So please remember that if you are marketing yourself on social media, anywhere, signs, anything other than the name that is written on your license, which is your legal name, it does need to be registered as a fictitious name. We are going to have another email go out today. You guys have probably been getting those. So it has both marketing compliance information and fictitious names. There is a Google form for you to fill out for fictitious names. So that way we can register it for you, because remember, the brokerage has to technically register it and own it, but you are able to use it as you want. Again, if you ever left KW, we would release it to you or to your new brokerage. So just a little something there. Questions on any of that?
Questions on anything?
Cool. And this is what you can't use it as a fictitious name. Remember, if it is any verbiage that would construe you as a brokerage or a real estate company yourself, that's, you know, has brokers and everything like that. You can't use those words unless you have Powered by KW or Powered by Keller Williams in the name as well, that is registered, and you are always using that. Go to the next. Okay, marketing compliance. This is my favorite. And I have to say, I'm really proud of some of you. You have been using the tags, those compliance tags that we have created. Haley's created those. They're easy to download. They're JPEG. So like it's clear, or it's a clear background basically. So you can put it on any of your social media. And people are making stickers to put on their open house directionals or their for sale directionals that they may have created themselves. You make stickers, you put them on there, they're good to go. But this is really important, you guys, because we can get flagged if you're not following the marketing compliance. Some of you have gotten emails from me because I've found maybe social media posts or directionals or for sale signs that are not compliant. You can actually get reported, and people have, like, they've gotten reported to the board because phone numbers are not, brokerage phone numbers are not put on your signs, or they're not on your social media. Or it's not even on your social media page that you're with Keller Williams. So these are really, really important things because you don't want to have to deal with that. Go ahead and go to the next page. We have some examples, and I know we sent these out in the email as well, but then in the top left and right corner, those are the little compliance tags. Get you covered. You put those on absolutely everything, you're good to go. Okay, super easy. I'm going to also include those in the Facebook page. I'm going to put them in there in the files tab. So you can easily find them there, but they're also in those emails that are coming out to you guys a couple times a week.
Jason,
Yep.
How's the market?
Anything else, Nicole?
Nope, that's it. If you have questions, call me, text me, beat me. You know how to reach me.
Hey,
Beat
we're
her.
sending that out again, right?
Yes, sending it out, and also putting it in the Facebook page in the files.
And my suggestion is for the agent is to save that somewhere so that you can reference back to it. Because we all make mistakes with this. I mean, it's not uncommon. We just want to avoid MREC issues if we can.
And I don't think anyone does it on purpose, right? Like, I mean, let's be honest, I've actually done it not meaning to, and then actually got turned in, so. Yeah,
And that wasn't fun, was it?
no. I
No, I
mean,
didn't think so.
you get a letter from Jim or a call from Jim, and no,
It wasn't a love note, was it?
it was not.
No.
So, but yeah, no one does it on purpose, so I appreciate the Nicole's being proactive with this to help us out, so. A little bit of updates on the market. So looking at the market this week compared to last week, not a whole lot of changes going on. So, new listings are pretty close to the same, new contracts pretty close to the same. So closings are up, but that's a metric from looking at what has happened.
We do have more new listings.
Yeah, a few, yeah,
I think that's because of us.
probably.
Yeah.
Now, it is interesting looking like at this point last year comparing, so completely different market. So it is completely different, yet just looking at from last week, I think it's pretty similar to last week. Looking at new listings, pretty much
Exactly from last week,
Yeah,
same number.
same thing, so I don't know. my interpretation, maybe the market is holding right now. So we'll see.
For this moment right now.
Yeah, that's right. And so our panel for today, we have a couple ladies come up. We got Sheila Johnson, Austin Picard, Amy Malaya, and Cassie. So just real quickly, let's just go down through who you are and starting this side, go down that way in case someone doesn't know who you are.
I'm Amy Malaya Coppins.
Sheila Johnson, Cassie Jones.
Austin Picard.
All right. So I'm gonna ask a question and then whichever one of you wants to answer it, that way I'm not putting anyone on the spot. Is that all right? Okay. What's the reason why you're so passionate about this subject? Because like, how did you end up here for this?
I think my cohorts like got me up here.
I might have recommended you.
I like numbers and I think numbers tell really good stories. And when you have numbers that can tell the information that you're trying to get across to your client, the expectations are really easy to understand and communicate. So with the CMA, it's about them coming up with the number, not me putting my spin on the number, but giving them an idea and why that idea is there and them owning it and understanding it. So that we don't have that communication of, well, I still think I can sell it for 100 more. These are the numbers that say otherwise.
You know, something that you said that I really love. The favorite thing I ever heard Adam Grady say was, we were in a top agent mastermind one time and Adam was leading it. This is several years ago. He said, we're in the expectation management business. It's just that simple. Okay, that's really great. So you reference that same thing.
Yeah, so our job, we're to be a fiduciary for our clients, right? And so they expect us to have all of the data available so that they can make good decisions. And whether we're representing a seller and helping them find the right list price for their house and set that expectation, or representing a buyer and they think they want to make a certain offer, a CMA is just the most valuable tool you can to help your people be educated and in a position to win.
Okay, so we've heard a little bit about the reasons why this is important to you. What would you say, like are there more than one way to do a CMA?
So many ways.
Okay.
I overanalyze everything. So like I had several listings coming up with land.
Yeah.
Properties with land, they're just so hard to comp. So then you go and you figure out land values, houses values. You sometimes piece comps together because the fact there may not have been a house like it sold recently, or it may be a unique home where you go in and you look, oh, well, it sold 3 years ago. And then you figure out how much the market has increased in value and you comp it like that because there's no comps. There's so many different ways to comp a house.
So let me back up, because you're moving fast.
Sorry.
No, so let's talk for a minute. I'm gonna just break apart what you said. How do you piece together?
So I go and I have several listings coming up with land.
Yeah.
And there's no houses like it on the equal amount of land. So I go and find land listings that have sold, what they've sold per acre. So then I figure out that portion of the value of the property. And then I go and look at houses and see what they're selling for, likewise ones. And then I will pull, what has sold on land, but you've got to, be like, well, this one's fancier, this one's run down, you're gonna have some of those too, but you start putting the pieces together to get an idea, just like in a neighborhood of Irish Hills versus Wicklow versus, another one, like I can't even think what the neighborhood's called on Dacey Falls. They're very close together, but they're very different entities. Just because they're in the same school district, just because the fact that they're half a mile apart doesn't mean they're gonna bring the same thing.
Okay. So you're saying you piece together, you get a land value, And so if it's a house that's on land, you're gonna get a land value and a house value, and that's how you put it together, right?
Yeah, but I don't just do it that way. I'll do it that way, then I'll look at houses with land, what, the ranges are. And then I'll go out further trying to find, something that is more similar. I may have to go to a neighboring town and stuff and see kind of what it's brought. But I try to bring different angles to it so that I know that I'm pricing in the right ballpark.
Yeah, love that. Okay, now, you mentioned that if you couldn't find comps, you would look to see like how it sold before and how the market has increased. So share with me a little bit what you're referencing there.
So we know the last few years, like the last year has been fairly stable, but we had those super high increases. So, a house that sold 3 years ago, we had a couple of years that about 15% for a couple of years. So I look at the value of what it sold back then and add, if it's been 2 years and the last year was flat, 30% value to it. See what, and that is actually held true for a couple. And one that I had recently that was a steep driveway. I've actually dealt with 2 steep driveways lately. And one, I'm like, okay, this is what they bought, and they bought it X amount under value because of the fact that it had a steep driveway. Okay, well, the other one, I didn't figure that out to begin with. I was sitting there with Mike and Brown and trying to figure out, the value of it. The house sold way less than it should have, but it was because it's on this hill. But when I went back to see what it originally sold for, it was right at the 15% under what a like house would have sold for. And that's exactly what we sold it for. So that was very interesting to see that, in a property that has an issue that you're dealing with, I've seen that hold true for 2 houses back to back now. So the second one we priced lower, and we actually got it when a lot of agents says, well, it's still sitting, you should be lowering the price. I'm like, we're good. And we got it, so, but we priced it accordingly to begin with. So.
I'm gonna come back to that part of it. Does anyone else have anything that they would add to what she said?
I want to add something to that because I think we can sit and run numbers all day long. And the numbers on paper can tell us that the house is worth X amount. The problem is the market really dictates what that house is worth at the end of the day. So, I've had multiple listings where comps 100% support X number, but the market says something else because of issues such as a steep driveway, or I've got one right now that the master bedroom is upstairs. And that is a harder sale in a higher price point too, because one, people that are in a higher price point are typically older. They don't want stairs. So there's numerous things I think that when we're running these CMAs that we do have to take into consideration because it's not just what the numbers say on paper. We also have to take into consideration, you could have 2 1,500 square foot houses that are built totally different, but on paper, they're both valued at X dollars. Well, to do a cathedral ceiling, that costs more. To do a vaulted ceiling, that costs more. I think we also have to dig in deeper and look at upgrades, conditions of these properties too, because it becomes important to understand, like if you've got a $500 range in a house, or if you've got a $5,000 range in a house, understanding the differences in hardwood flooring versus LVP or some of these other materials that people are using now.
So you throw a whole lot of information for maybe some agents in here that are, we'll say, newer, and they're hearing what you're saying, and maybe they're thinking, how would I even go through that process? So let's take the one example where the master bedroom is upstairs. What would the process you would go through to figure out how you would make an adjustment to your CMA because of that?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say that I've necessarily nailed down a process with it, because
there's no right or wrong.
There isn't a right or exactly. There isn't a right or wrong. I think what I've done in the past is I've always come up with the base number, and I'll present it to my client and say, look, market says that we should sell for this. However, I know based off of what my buyers have said and what other listings are currently on the market that may be similar or have closed in the past, this is what they've sold for. I try to set that expectation with them in the beginning that, hey, like, I'm happy to list it at 600. We can test it for 2 weeks and see what happens. But if we don't have an offer or 10 showings, we need to look at doing some sort of adjustment to ensure that we're not sitting on the market longer. And I think it's important to, when we're looking at like the home with the master bedroom upstairs, for example, it's important to find other homes, maybe not in that neighborhood, but other homes in the market that have had a master bedroom upstairs or a split level home, and see how long it took them to sell, how many price reductions did they have during that time, what their showing count was like, and then the buyer demographic, going through and seeing how many active listings that are in comparison to that still available versus what's closed. The one that I have right now, there's more inventory available that is very similar to it, which is causing us to have to drop our price more.
Okay, in that scenario, and you don't have to use your exact listing, let's just say in that scenario where there are a lot on the market that are similar to what you're getting ready to put on the market, and maybe they've sat there for a little bit. How would you navigate that conversation with your client to price it where it would sell quickly?
It's a difficult conversation to have because they believe that it's worth X amount. And the first part when I go into having a conversation with somebody's like that, as I say, this is the marketing that we've done. This is the amount of showings that we've had, and this is the feedback that we've had. We haven't seen an offer. Realistically, with the amount of time we've been on market, with the number of showings that we've had, we should have seen some sort of offer in this time. And then I give them the option. We either stay where we're at now and hope and pray that it sells, or we do an adjustment. And I give them the opportunity to do that. Do I want them to do the price adjustment? Yes. And if the motivation is there, a lot of times they will. But you have some clients that they won't because the motivation just isn't there.
Can I add to that?
Please.
I was just gonna say too, I use the statistics on the MLS to know like different price points and how long it takes them to sell. So if it's a $600,000 home, that might be a 25 to 35 day sale, because that's just how long it takes for that number of people to be able to see that home that affords that home. And you go to $1 million and it's even more. 200,000, it's a day. And having that expectation, so you can ask them like, which is more important, getting your price or getting sold quickly? So if you want to get sold quickly, this is where we need to be. And again, there's those numbers. You can find those numbers that tell me I can sell it this, I should be able to sell it this fast. If you've got a little bit of time and you're patient and we're okay and we're talking through this 3 weeks and you're comfortable, let's go for this, because the numbers say that it should, if it's priced for the market, if it doesn't have the upstairs thing or the steep hill. But if you tell them that in the beginning, I think that's a lot, they understand it a lot more. And if you know it's not overpriced, which we see them when they're overpriced and you're like, that is sitting, you know, and the consumer's gonna let it sit. If we have it priced right and we have our plan correct, the right person is gonna enter the market and find that home.
Yeah.
There's three different things you're looking at, right? When you're looking at your CMA, you're looking at your actives, which are the current competition. And so you always want to help your people to be positioned as the best value in amongst the competition for what they are. The second thing you're looking at is the pendings. This is what today's buyers are saying that house is worth, right? And I will even go so far as to call comparable pendings and talk to the agent and say, how many offers did you get? Are you having any appraisal issues? Because this is a thing right now. At least it has been a thing for me. So having those conversations and coming prepared to talk to your seller about that. Hey, today's buyers are under contract on these houses. This is how fast they went under contract at this price. And these are the issues that they're encountering. That's a super helpful conversation to be able to have to position your seller to not have the same problems. And then, of course, recent solds, and I personally don't look back before January. And the reason being is because before January, we had better interest rates. So we need to make sure that our sold comps are with today's market conditions.
And I want to add on that. So I recently had a listing, it was a bustle built home. So a house, identical floor plan, sold 6 weeks before us. So I called that agent and they had listed at 269, they got 275. They said they had 30 showings and 6 offers. Okay, so we listed, we had a little bit nicer finishes, but we listed like 272 and we're about to close Friday at 284. We only had 6 showings, 5 offers. And the 6th showing was contingent, so I told him not even to write it up. But it's interesting how many more people came in 6 weeks' time, how much our market has shifted. So that was very eye-opening to me because they had 30 showings, but that was when the rates were dropped down. It hit that sweet spot, but still, when the rates were higher, we still got more. But I'm thinking I did a lot more marketing because I did. But everybody came in with offers, so.
But priced well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I priced it lower than they went for, but we got way higher.
So this question is for anybody that listening to this. What's the reason that, I referenced something that Cassie said, a house at 200,000 sells quickly for way over, and a house at 600,000 might take longer to sell? What's the reason?
Number of
Buyers,
buyers.
the people in that market, yeah.
Okay. Is it?
And I was gonna say, so a lot of people that 2 years ago when the rates were lower, they would sell their $400,000 house and upgrade to that $600,000 house. There's so many people, unless they need to buy or sell, that with that interest rate, unless they're paying cash, because I've had a lot of cash buyers lately, they're not wanting to let go of that good interest rate. So they're just gonna wait to buy that luxury home instead of, because the fact that it's not just gonna raise their payment $1,000, it's gonna double their payment for just a little bit nicer house.
And genuinely, I really want to know what you think on this. Like, so there's a smaller buyer pool, right? At the 600,000 as opposed to 200,000. Do you think that when you put it on the market and it sits there, let's just say reference her, she said 30 days. Is that because the buyers aren't there when it goes on the market, or they just don't move as quickly?
They don't feel that urgency. They've got to, it's got to check their boxes. It's got to check every one of their boxes if they're gonna splurge on the higher interest rate.
Somebody said recently, and I'm trying to think of their exact wording, but they said it's not just a price war, it's a price war and a beauty contest now. So we have to be the best priced and we have to be the best condition for what we have to offer. And it could, I mean, a $600,000 house could fly off the
And I'm
market.
gonna say there was one, Michelle Omar had one last week for
Multiple
$750. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
But
it
it
was
was
a
unique.
beauty.
So
It was
that's
a
the thing.
beauty and it was priced, it was not a, well, $750 is a scary price for me because I don't make that much money. But when you look at the home, it wasn't a scary price looking at the home, not like looking at 1,100 square foot home for $325.
yeah, but like it was unique. So it was, here's the thing is there are buyers out there with money that are sitting and waiting for the right
Yeah.
property to pop on the market. And when they see it, they will jump on it if it's priced right.
Can we get back to CMAs?
Yes.
So, on the question, no offense, but on the question of CMAs, so, when I teach CMAs, I mean, we're gonna do all the things that you're talking about when I'm trying to teach it to an agent. But then I tell them, do not establish a price until you get to the house. Are you all doing seller consultations, meaning you're going to the house first and then going back and doing the CMA? Because, you know, the NAR statistics are that, you know, first one sits down with a piece of paper in front of somebody usually gets it signed, so.
What I do when I try to come up with a value is I run preliminary numbers first.
Right.
Because I want to know before I go and I sit down and I talk with them, like, this is all of the data that I know. And then I walk through the house and I, have a notepad and I write down what I believe are going to be the negatives. With the problems that I see with the house, like, for example, paint touch-ups, missing caulk by bathtubs, rubbing doors, the little things that people pay attention to that are perceived value, that they don't necessarily affect the value, they're just perceived value. It's just like buying a car. If you go in, you're looking at two identical cars with the same features, and one has a scratch in the paint and the other doesn't, you're probably going to buy the car without the scratch in the paint. And so I always have the preliminary numbers, go through with that notepad, write down all of the conditions and the negatives that I see, and then I assign a value to the house.
So mine's, yeah, super similar. So I'll go through and I do it multiple ways. I use RPR, I use CRS, and I use MLS. So I use all of them to try to figure out, because there is a spot in RPR where you can adjust the condition of the home based on the other. So if your home is in better condition than this comp, you can slide it back and forth, which is lovely. But because the thing is like you said, when you go to the list in the first one there, if you're not willing to give them any information, and they're willing to sign that day, but you're not going to give them anything, they don't want you, you know. But I will say this, and I learned this last week, and I know it, but we started talking numbers before I got their number. So I forgot to get their number first, and I gave them the range feeling really, really good, and their number was like, oh, so we had to work our way through that. But that's my little.
So I like printing out like a view in the range, and I ask them how it compares to their house. Like, I have my iPad and I'm like, pull up the pictures to see. And then I ask, so where do you feel like you should be in there? And I learned that in the first bold. But, and then usually they're pretty accurate about hitting where it should be. And the other thing is sometimes, you know, I pull up those numbers to begin with, I pull up examples, and sometimes like I'm way off when I get in the house, meaning the house is in way better condition or it's in poorer condition. And I'm like, I pulled up a few things that were in your neighborhood, but your house is a little bit different. So I'll just literally throw them back in my bag and pull up my iPad. And I'm like, let's just look at it in here. And already I'll have their neighborhood in the MLS. What is pending, what is active. And I try to change it on that way, but I still want to say, hey, how does it compare? Well, in our market, if we price lower, we're going to get more activity, more to choose from. If we price too high, we're going to end up coming down.
If you're trying to run a CMA and you've never been to the property before, have your list of questions that you're going to ask on the phone prior to running your comps and prior to going out. Sometimes on the appraiser website, it shows that it's a single level and there's actually a basement. So you could run your comps all wrong. So ask them, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? When did you purchase the home? What improvements have you done to the home since you last purchased it? I mean, you never know, they could have done a full gut and remodel on it, or it may be an 80s house and they've done nothing. So asking those questions in advance, and you can ask them like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being like pristine, new, show ready condition. You know, where do you place your house? So that kind of just gives you an idea most of the time, if they're honest. They're all
How many of you ask them, you know, the question I always ask is, what do you think the value of your home is? And I mean, I just want to know, because, and then I might, you know, I could say, you know what? Look at some of the comps I see, we might be able to get you more, or, you know, let me run the comps and then we'll see what we can do. Do you all ask that on the phones or in conversations with the?
Yes.
Yeah, do you have a list price?
In
Do you
mind.
have a list price in mind? Have you talked to others? Have you done some research? What are you hoping to get for your house?
If we were to have a class on where you could pull up on the computer and run through a CMA, maybe take some examples, would you guys be willing to do one if we did like one every other week or something, and each one of you had an opportunity to host it? Would you do that?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. What's maybe one last thought you want to leave with everyone? Go ahead.
I'll just share like learn from my bad experience. Because we're not perfect at this, right? It's not exact science. So the other day I had a listing, it's up in Brighton. I had an appraiser call me, and we have a buyer on the property, and they were like, I'm having trouble justifying your list price. And obviously I know you do your homework. Please run through the comps with me and share with me what you did to price this house. So I did. In my mind, you know, there's not a lot of inventory in Brighton, right? So I said, well, it's on the north side of Springfield. It's a 20-minute drive outside of Springfield. So I'm gonna look at this swath of 20 minutes outside of Springfield, all the way on the north side. Because if I'm a buyer shopping, that's probably where I'm gonna go. So my comps showed value, no problem. And she was like, I appreciate those and I can't use most of them
Yeah.
because they're not Greener Polk County. And I'm limited to only using Greener Polk County. So it's really important, like when we have these unique properties that are on land and there aren't actual comps, we really have to set our sellers up for, here's what I believe buyers may perceive the market value to be. And we may still have an issue with the appraiser because there are no comps in your area to justify that. So thankfully, instead of a $40,000 difference, we ended up at a $10,000 difference after I sent the comps to the appraiser. Thankfully, they called me and asked before they just sent over a tanked appraisal that would have just completely killed the deal. But I think that's really important when we're fishing for comps and there are none, that we have this important conversation with our sellers.
I had an appraiser do that with me the other day, and I sent them a list of upgrades to the property that I had done, and they adjusted according to the upgrades.
Yeah, but if they ask in advance, if somebody sends you over a bad appraisal, good luck getting them to change it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, a lot of times if a client has done a lot of upgrades, I will list it out on a PDF and I will put it at the end of the report. And I'll ask the buyer's agent to make sure they share that with the lender so they can forward that on to the appraiser.
I have a suggestion. I know that Amy, in your situation is Mindy Freely. And maybe we could get a couple of appraisers to come in and do a training session on what they look for and how they appraise different properties. So that
We just did that.
our comp.
We just did that.
We did.
Oh, did I miss it? I've been.
3
out of
weeks
town for
ago.
2 weeks.
We just did that. Can we do it again
But
now?
they did actually tell us that they would love it if, if we have a notebook already there with all the information on the home, we can have that notebook right there on the counter that shows where we got our comps from. That's me. That shows where we got our comps from, and they're happy to see that because then they get an idea of what we were thinking as well. They were totally open to
And
that.
upgrades, too, they said.
Yeah, so they can see that. Mine is, on that same thing, and even on appraisers, I actually study the appraisals that come in, so I understand what's in their mind. I am not an appraiser, and I'm not gonna say that I am, but I do want to protect my client as much as I possibly can. I'm not gonna tell them that this is the number, but I'm gonna say, appraisers are different than ours. They have different standards. They have different opinions even. But I do look at them to see what value they put on a third car garage and what value they put on a half bath and even square footage for different areas because there's different square footage prices. So I do try to study that. So I really have a good idea. I don't go too far into it, but I really want to have an idea of what they're thinking when I'm doing that comp because I want it to be correct as much as I can.
So going off that real quick, off the appraisal. So we're buying an investment property this afternoon and on the appraisal, they had the house, they had made the 4th bedroom larger and they added like 140 square foot to the house. And that third car garage is not a full garage. They subtracted way more value on the missing garage space than they added for that extra 140 square foot. Because they didn't think it literally like, we're gonna knock out a wall and move it back. I mean, the value was that much different. I was just shocked that they had like $3,000 in value and not like $11,000 on because they said it wasn't for the third car garage. And since we're, gutting everything anyway, might as well put it back.
Awesome. Last thoughts?
Can I actually write something?
Sure.
It's a little different, but Dan Holt shared this with me one time, talking about values on a house. And when we talked to like sellers and we asked them their value, he showed me this graph one time. I don't even know if I really call it a graph. So what this is essentially is when we come up with a value on a house, or we ask the seller the value that they come up with, this is what I would suggest, like we list for, 235. I think this is what we're going to get market value wise. Depending on your motivation though, if you need it sold tomorrow, this is where we should list. If you are desperate to get it sold, we need to be here. And it's not always gonna be a $10,000 even spread across the board, but if you want it gone, here we are. If you're okay with sitting on the market for a little bit, maybe not selling or expiring, we price it here. And I've used this every time with people because I think it kind of puts it in perspective for them. Like, well, we really do want to sell, but we don't want to sit and expire. So let's put it at what market value should be and hopefully we get it sold. Or we got to get it sold tomorrow, so we're going to underprice it a little bit. And right now in our market, if we underprice something, we're typically seeing more activity and multiple offers on something. So I think it's important to kind of run people through, you know, kind of the visual on the values. That way they kind of have an idea of where it places them and how it compares to their motivation. Every seller's got a different level of motivation.
That's true. Yeah, very good. Thank you guys for your time. Let's give them a round of applause. Sitting through and have a great day.
20 minutes till title commitment class.